Welcome to the One Big Fire podcast. My name is Albie. I'm here with Jay Kinder. What's up, John Jay?
How you doing? Man,
it's very few people know. Very few people know that you're John J. Kinder. You're not Jay Kinder. Jay Kinder is actually John J. Kinder.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith.
Totally reminded me of that.
Depends on who's calling.
Yeah, right. What's up, brother? Yeah,
up,
that's how you know, right? When they're like,
John
J. Kinder.
Yeah,
then you fucking know you're not taking that call.
Yeah. Even the only people that I allow to call me John is my dentist, and it's only because they try so hard to call me by my name just to be personable. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna break it to them that's not what I go by. You just call me John. Everyone else, I know it's a salesperson.
Like, dude, I wouldn't even be like John Kinder. Like, I know now, but like, I wouldn't react to that. You know what I mean? Because
right.
It's just not your branded name, but
yeah,
good branding. By the way, when I was getting into real estate, Jay, I was absolutely not going to be known as Albert Stasek,
right?
Because I was 25 years old, and that would have made me feel like I'm 75 years old.
Right.
Al, it was. But hey, dude, welcome back from vacation. We both were.
You too, man. Yeah.
How was vacation,
dude? The vacations, it was amazing. So, I don't even know. There was all these Facebook memories because we go about this time every year and have for as long as Facebook's been around. And so these on this day, 11 years ago, on this day, 10 years ago, it was, just memories of, of the same, I'll take the same picture on the way out. The lake is glass. It's the same exact photo. It looks exactly the same. It's crazy. But yeah, the whole family was there. All my kids, grandkids, couple littles, they make things way more interesting. Total, shit show about half the time. But yeah, you know how my parents do it. They do it up. You've been there. It's a good time, man. It's a good time. Got to see, some of what my babysitter when I was in kindergarten, I guess, when I moved to Walters was Cindy Landis. And so the Landises ended up becoming our best friends. Tommy passed away earlier this year, and they got a big house, log cabin out there, and their whole family goes. And Riley, I grew up with Riley and Christy and all them. And so got to hang out with them. Haven't really, we've missed, I guess, over the years, when they go, I'm not going, or whatever the case may be. So got to, it was a good get together, but as and we were talking offline, I'm a very task. Maybe it's a really, really good thing. It probably is, but I'm very task oriented. The shit that I write down is getting done or I'm not going somewhere. I've got to get it done. And I make that list every month, and then I whittle it down every week, and then I whittle it down every day, and I add to it. And going into this, I had the opportunity to get that inbox to zero and get those tasks done. And I just, sometimes that's hard to do. And sometimes you have to leave things unfinished. I think that's another thing. You just got to know you're never going to get it all done. So you might as well just be okay with what you're not getting done. And I think to a certain degree, there's things like my boat in Puerto Rico and the truck in Puerto Rico that I didn't get done that aren't here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I felt like I got to, really decompress and just be present, for the trip, which is, had a couple calls that we did, the live call, and I had one other one that I did, but outside of that, man, I didn't return a text. I mean, I was dark. I went dark. So it was good, man. How about you?
You got to go dark too, because I'm busy, but no one's busier that I know personally than you. And when I say busy, I mean constant being pawed at distractions. I don't know how many text messages you field every day, but I know it's more than I want to deal with. So the fact that you were able to unplug, were you there for 2 weeks or 1 week?
Just 10 days.
10 days. 9 days,
something like that.
Perfect. But yeah, man, I very similar, dude. I got everything off my plate. My desk was clean, and right before I left the house, it was clean and it was done. And we were talking about it earlier. Our ability to unplug probably needs some work. We're not probably doing it enough. I knew, and here's the problem for me, dude. I will go until it's actually starting to affect my mental health to, an issue where I actually have an awareness of it. I can look and be like, I'm getting fucked up right now. Like I need a break.
Yeah.
I'll just keep piling onto that list. I'll knock stuff off. We knock stuff off every day.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also putting more shit on it.
Yep. It's always growing.
It's always growing. So I was able to unplug too, man. We, for two weeks out in Tahoe. The weather wasn't super hot. It was absolutely perfect. It was like 70 degrees.
Oh, nice.
Like on the money, blue skies, sunny. It was beautiful. So we spent just Courtney and I, first 7 days was just us, and then all the family flew in. It was fun, man. It was good. I think that my limit of being around family at one extended period of time is 7 days at the max.
Yeah.
I think my sweet spot's 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
you start to realize, hey, I didn't choose to live with these people anymore for a reason.
Well, and it's just the other part of it was just being able to unplug with Court for a while. Like,
yeah,
that part where there's nothing going on except me and her and the dog and some yoga. And we got some yoga in and just cleared the head. And yeah, man, felt good. And well, I'm glad to be back though. I'm glad to be back, and we'll find out here in a second here what's been going on with the market. Man, I look, I was off, but I was still looking at headlines. I was still looking at, looking at Facebook here and there, and I'm seeing like the clickbait. Like it felt like the sky was falling a little bit. People are like, oh, the prices are dropping, prices are falling. Like that's what I'm seeing is like prices are falling everywhere. It's simply like, I think one of the new phrases in the last 5 years is 2 things can be true at once. So it is true that they're falling in some markets. Some markets, they're not falling. Some, like where we're at, they're still going up. And I know Frisco might be taking a little bit of a hit, but that's not a bad thing. Like what we're seeing is we run buyer funnels more than anyone I know. I don't know any other organization that runs more funnels than we do. Yep. And most of them are buyer focused. So like our agents are loving this extra inventory. It's going back to more of a normalized market. And if you're a listing agent and your listings are just sitting there, it's because you need to have a hard conversation with the seller, which is what we're going to chat a little bit about. We love this topic too, because it's about we read a book years back. If you remember, Jay, I think you referred it to me. It was The Hard Thing About Hard Things. It's such a great book for anyone who's, an entrepreneurial minded agent. The hard thing about hard things has nothing to do with real estate. It has everything to do with your ability to have a hard conversation. Okay. Because agents out there, if it's an easy conversation, then any agent, any lazy agent can have an easy conversation.
Yep.
The experts, the good ones, they're having hard conversations, and they're still getting 6-7 offers. Allison just sold her house, 9 offers, bro.
Crazy.
And honestly, she thought she was overpricing it a bit, right? So like, we got to have some hard conversations. Jay, when you were out there slinging it.
Yeah.
The hard conversations, dude. Tell me a little bit about like how would you start to approach these having a real open?
Yeah. I had there was first of all, to put it in perspective, my whole career was hard conversations. There was never, maybe 03, 04, 05 would be the argument for a seller's market. But the rest of it was average days on the market, 120 days. So, there's in every market, in every price band. And this is right now, if you ask an agent, what's, the lazy agent will say the market is slow. A professional is going to say which segment, what price band, what zip code you talking about? Like, because it's different everywhere right now. And we got, multiple offers like you're talking about in some markets. And in some price bands, there's a super supply of inventory that's starting to pile up. And you just got to know the difference. It's different in every price band, every market. You got to know the micro markets and what's going on. And I was talking to my dad. He was doing a CMA while we were there, which cracks me up. He's trying to price this house, and I'm from Lawton. I don't know the values of houses like I did, but I know the neighborhoods and stuff. And he's like, yeah, this one's over in and was it Creekwood? It was a really small area, a couple of streets that built in the 90s. So it wasn't enough of a neighborhood to pull comps, and he was trying to find other comps. And I was like, yeah, man, if I remember, I would have probably gone to Blythe's Point or this for same age, same, side of town, school district, stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I got a couple comps there. Like, we were just talking through it, but like, and then he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I had this other client that, put a house on, I told, the market came back, the CMA came back like 212. He texted me, he wants to put it on at 244. I was like, yeah. I said, yep. I said, I remember those days. I said, every single situation. This is the gold right here for this market. If you aren't doing this right here, what I'm about to say, then you're going to get beat up on you're going to fall victim to, man, I can't really say it because what I want to say, I just want to win the listing. And beforehand, I always got one thing from every seller. What's the value that you think the house is worth? And what do you think the house is worth in today's market? And I don't care what they think it's worth. What I care about is knowing what they think it's worth so that I know how to navigate the conversation later. And so when we would call and do our seller counseling interview, this is what they'll say when you ask that question. Well, so this would have been Victoria or Dina. And she would say, well, hey, do you have an idea what you think the house is worth? And they would say, well, we were kind of hoping you could tell us, right? Like, they never want to tell you. And so I taught her a reframe. So the reframe was just real simple. So, well, if you had to guess, what would you say? And a lot of times that one reframe, they'll be like, well, we think it's this. Or they may be like, well, we really was hoping Jay could tell us, what he thinks it's worth. Like, I'm not getting into the debate I'm not coming out here to see who can give you the highest price. Okay. That's not my job. So you're hiring me to market this home in today's market to attract the highest offer we can. So I need to know how far off you are so I know how to navigate the conversation of pricing later. And so that third go around, you'll say, well, what if you had to pick a number out of the air, what would you say? If you had a gun to your head, what would you say? You reframe the question. You could do it 3-4 times without being, coming across like, what the hell, man? I told you I don't want you to tell me. And so that reframe was just a way to get me a number that in the back of their mind, they're kind of hoping for. Right. And then, we go, we have a process. We teach this through our old training and everything, but you get to the property, you're building rapport, you're using the information you have on your seller counseling interview to connect with each person. You connect with both parties. And now you have to flip this. Now you're friends because you don't want to get out friended. If you don't do that right, you just get out friended. Somebody else, I like the other agent better. So you got to connect with them, walk through the property, point stuff out. Then when it was time to shift, and the shift was to an authoritative position. And because you got to be the authority, you're not now you're the doctor. It's time for you to prescribe and diagnose the problem and prescribe a solution. Okay. And so after I befriended both parties, we'd sit down. And as I was sitting down, my first thing I would always say is like, man, when I got in this business, they used to teach me to do this thing called a CMA. And I said, it's funny because it's a most archaic thing on the planet. Looking backwards in time to see what homes sold for. We don't know if there was cats in the house. We don't know if they were hoarders. We don't know anything about that situation. They were motivated, not motivated, who priced it. But we have to determine that's what your house is worth based on just that historical data. That's the CMA. Some agents still use it. It's the most archaic method for the reason I think you guys are having me here is to price and position this home to attract the highest offer in today's market. Is that right? And they're like, yeah. Didn't that other agent bring us to CMA? All I'm doing is creating doubt on whatever idiot came before me that said some stupid price. I want to create doubt on anybody that didn't have the hard conversation so that I don't have to deal with that later. Then what I would do is as I start getting stuff out, this is the magic, man. Dan Kennedy calls it the magic. It's when you do your work, they see you doing the work, not, some pretty presentation. I'm talking papers and files and all this stuff. But if there's 160 homes on the, let's just use 100 homes. There's 100 homes on the market. And then you say, you guys told me you guys want to be sold by, let's just use 90 days for this example. And it's, so July, August, September, October. So you guys you want it to be sold by, the first week of October. Okay. So is that still the goal? And they say, yeah. And I say, with your permission, I'm going to tell you guys what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Are you okay with that? And they both, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like now we just went from being friends to you gave me approval to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. I'm not here to be your friend anymore. I'm here to give you the best advice to make sure you get moved by the first week of October. You're good with that, right? So now I got buy-in to tell them what they need to hear. Now, once that's a critical thing to say. Like you taking control, they gave you permission to tell them what they need to hear in order to hit the goal. I tie that back to the date. Like you said, by October, for the first week of October, yeah, we'll be out of here by then. We need to be gone. Whatever it is, and if you can't find, if they don't have a motivated time frame, you got to find it. Okay, well, when will you be? There's got to be. You got to tie it to a timeline we're trying to accomplish this by, no later than. And so that would be the process. Then I would say, okay, well, let's look at this price band, and this was so critical, because I've lost listings this way. So if I didn't get the price, now let's say the house is worth $250, and my mind going into it, I already know it's worth. This is worth $250. They're thinking it's worth maybe $295, maybe $315. The house on the street's priced on the market right now for $315. I mean, maybe we should price it. That's what they're thinking. So if I pulled up 200 to 300 price band, I've watched this happen across the table. Literally watched when I would pull out, say, well, from 200 to 300, here's the homes that have sold. They lean back in their chair. They start looking at me funny. They start frowning. I didn't even use the price they were hoping for. So like I didn't hit the top. I didn't even include the price that they thought it might be worth. So now they're disappointed. And now I've lost rapport again. Now we're not friends at all. Right. And so I've watched that drain out of their face enough times that I'm like, man, I got to know what they're thinking so I can at least include it, even if it's not relevant. It doesn't matter if it's relevant or not. So I got to include it so I don't break rapport, because I'm not there to give them price. I'm there to help them discover the price where we need to be positioned. It's not my job to price it. It's my job to help them discover where we should be priced at based on the goals that we have. Not me tell you a price and you say, yeah, we like that price, we're going to list it with you. And that's where agents mess up. They go out there and give them price. I never give price. And so at this point, then I'm including this price band that's not even relevant. And we say, okay, well, there's 100 homes on the market and 10 a month are selling. So 30 homes are going to sell by October, and probably 30 more are going to come on the market that aren't on this list. And so based on that, there's going to be 30 homes that sell and 100 homes that don't sell. What do you guys think we need to do to make sure we're one of the 30 that sell and not one of the 100 that don't sell? And shut up.
Yep. And
that, because you're making them understand the market. They think everything sells. They're hopeful. They would just live on, they're going to make their decision based on hope. Man, that other agent was really nice, and she said this price. Man, that's what it's not. I mean, that's just human nature. So that's the. Now I'm letting them soak in it, right? They're soaking in it, and they're thinking, and they're like, well,
yeah,
well, I guess we probably better be priced right. I said, that's kind of the conclusion I came to in order to make sure, again, I don't want you to have to, you told me you don't want to rent the house. You told me you don't want to make payments on two places. You told me all this. And so in order to be one of the 30 that sell and not one of the 100 that sell, and now at this point, they're wanting to go down to neighborhood level, right? Like they're like, yeah, tell us what it's worth. Tell us what it's worth. I'm like, we're not going to get down. We're going to hover up here at 10,000 feet, and that's it. I say, okay, so we're on the same page. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you our proven repeatable system to sell homes for up to 18% more than the methods of traditional real estate agents. Are you okay with that? Yes. Now, sometimes they would try to backtrack me into price. Like, well, they wanted me to go into a CMA. I'm like, I told you I don't do CMAs. Like, we don't do that. That's not the process. And so I'm saying, like, we'll get down to price, exact pricing and the comps and stuff here. But first, I want to show you the process that we're going to use to sell it for the most amount of money. I think this is super important. They give me permission. And so there's over 115 variables involved in the home selling process. Some of these variables I'm in control of. Some of them you're in control of. But it's how we manage these variables that's going to determine whether you attract a high offer or you attract a low offer. Do you want to attract a high offer? We want to attract a high offer. High offer. Okay. All right. So then I go through the presentation. Now, based on after the presentation, based on everything we talked about, do you feel like this is the best system to sell your home for the most amount of money? If they say yes, you got the listing. That's it. Now we haven't even talked about price. So, okay, now let's get down to where do we think we need to position the price, position the home in today's market. And then we go down and we look at comps and we get real about it. And so, again, if I said it's worth $250, I wouldn't get the listing. They'd go with somebody else or whatever. Or it'd be a fight and it's me versus them. Man, I'm over here on your side of the table. Like, we're best friends, man. What do you think? I mean, I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. What do you think? It's not about me telling you anything. It's about us discovering, hey, man, only 30 of these are going to sell and 100 aren't. And so if they start going, well, what do you think about 275? I'm like, well, maybe, but, you guys tell me 71% of homes that, you remember that. And then I could go back to, remember when we talked about in the presentation, we talked about what percentage of homes sell in the first 30 days versus ones that sell ever or don't fail to sell. Yeah, that's right. You remember this? Yep, it was 71% or whatever. Right now, I'm going back to hey, remember what I told you? You can do that, but here's the risk. And it's not me saying, no, it's not worth 275. It's me saying, hey, you like to gamble. I like to gamble, but this is your house. Do you really want to gamble? And you get them to come to their own conclusion that you want them to come to without you having to be the one that tells them the price. That is by far the biggest thing that I had to do it every day. So I got really good at this, but like, man, that is a skill set that if you don't have in today's market, you're going to get crushed. You're going to take listings. They're not going to sell. You're going to be frustrated. And if you have a house that hasn't sold, there's only one thing that matters is they say price, condition, and location. Well, they ain't changing the condition. They ain't changing the location. So it's price. It's always price. And if you don't look at that price band, and I might tighten up that band and go through it specifically later. But I'm going to use that top end price so I don't lose them, so I don't lose rapport with them in that initial point. There's some gold in that. Like,
what I love, bro, what you just said, there's a ton of gold, and I want to pick out one piece of gold. Yeah. And this is why I love doing these podcasts with you, dude, because, we have guests on sometimes, but like, I'm always learning something in 28 years or 29 years, whatever it is in this business. And what my takeaway from that conversation right there was that you did something different that I didn't do. And I should have been doing it this way, is that you got into that high level that we call it the 1,000 view without giving them price before the presentation.
Yeah. Yep.
Before you get into any of that. And then you leave them on a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. It's like setting the hook. And like, we're just going to leave you sit over there for a second.
Yeah. I opened the gate of the mind.
Yes.
It probably ain't what we're hoping for. Like, that's all I'm trying to, like, once I got them to that place. And then, there was another thing we taught, obviously, Al, like, we would go through a lot of data and market data to just, it's a flex. What you're trying to get them to do is be like, man, this dude knows what he's talking about. That's all you wanted to get in the back of their mind. You'd be like, man, this dude knows what he's talking about. If I get them to that place, okay, now I think they'll at least listen to my advice. That's what you want. Like, if they don't trust you, so you got to build trust. And what builds trust? Knowing what you're doing, demonstrate that you know what you're talking about. And this is demonstrating that. So we go through some market data up to this point, but in a market like today, the most important thing, and this was like sometimes missing from the training, like it was that one sheet where we would break down how many homes sell and how many homes wouldn't going to sell. And okay, only 28% of homes are going to sell in the next 90 days. So what do we have to do to be one of those that sells? And I would do that. I would physically go through and do that math. And that was, it was because I had to. It didn't matter what was going on, man. There's more houses that didn't sell that did. Didn't matter what price point. Like it was, because if not, I was battling people's hopes and dreams, every time. And the only way that, or at least the way that before I learned this, the only way that I knew to, do it was to punch them right in the nose and give them a handkerchief. Well, that's dangerous if you want to win the league, And so I had to figure out a way to get them to my side of thinking so that they would be more open to listening to my advice later. And that was a key thing in the pricing.
Speaking of punching them in the nose and giving them a hanky, I don't know if you taught me this or who would teach this, but I would always bring like 2 or 3 sheets of expired listings. It didn't even matter where they're from. I mean, obviously from that same city where I was going in the town, but like the whole sheet, like year to date, here's how many homes did not sell. And we all know that look, if you look at the news media, we even put it in here, like clickbait, fear sells. It's a shame, but it's just reality. And so I would always start out with saying, hey, we can agree on one thing today. Neither you or I want you on this list. You're like, what list is this you're talking about? They don't want to be on that list. Like, okay, what list should I stay off of? This is the list. And I actually took them mentally down a journey of, let's pretend we list today. And I gave you the wrong advice. In other words, I just told you what you wanted to hear today so you can sign on the line that's dotted. And then I get your listing. And here's the thing, 70% of agents out there that are going after these listings, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. And you gave me permission to tell you what you need to hear. And the biggest thing why you want to follow this advice is to stay off of this list. And you're like, what list is it? And I literally just lay it out, let them read it. Every one of these homes was listed. There was an agent that sat across from them in their kitchen table, just like today. And I literally would tell the story to get them to put themselves in the seat, in the position of those sellers who wasted 6 months. Some of them even longer than 6 months. I mean, they were signing 12-month agreements back in those days, like in 2010, 11, because it took so long to sell a house. Like, it wasn't uncommon to do a 1-year listing. And I would be like, look, the goal is to stay off this list because these folks, they lost something they can't get back. And that's 12 months of marketed time. Their home stigmatized. So I would take the route of a little bit of fear up front.
Yep.
And I feel like that was good advice because I want them to understand that that's a reality if they don't listen to me. Mm-hmm. If you would never go to a doctor and say, hey, I'm going to give you the advice that I want you to give me. I'm just going to do, what I mean? Like,
right.
No one would do that. I wouldn't do it with I wouldn't do it with my CPA. I mean, my CPA is one of my best friends right now, right? Like, you got to have a good CPA. Otherwise, you're going to be paying out the nose. You can make, you can get into some trouble with taxes. Like, I'm not going to tell Chuck what I think he needs me to tell me. That'd be absolutely insane.
Right.
I pay him a lot of money because he's the expert. I'm not.
Right.
And but here's the thing. Like, if Chuck needed to really get through my thick skull, he could tell me a story about the client that didn't listen to him. And the audit that they ended up having to do. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So I kind of, I love the angle you went where you did the 1,000-point view, did not give them the price, but you put it out there so that it's just in this bubble hanging out there. And you're like, here's how we'll get your price. And you don't even know.
Well, what I did was I dispelled that it's not worth $315. And if in the back of their mind, because remember, I got that from them, and they don't even know that I got that information because they gave it to somebody else. So they gave it to my listing coordinator or ISA at the time.
Your ISA, yep.
Gathered that and they don't ever put 2 and 2 together that all that information they gave them, I've already read all that. And so so when I'm doing that price point that includes $315, which they're hoping for. And I know that I'm going to have a conversation later that's at 250, 250. Then all I needed to do was give them enough information to say, man, we ain't going to probably get 315, honey. Like, that's probably not happening. We were just being kind of hopeful. But they came to that conclusion based on how many homes will sell, how many homes won't sell. What do you guys think we'll need to do to be one of the 30 that sell and not one of the 100 that don't? Then they look at each other and I dispelled that whole hope strategy they had in their head. And now we left it, but I got you thinking the way I'm thinking, right? Like, that's all I'm trying to do is get you on the same page as what I know without having to punch them in the nose with it. Right. And so and to answer one of the questions in there, this is do it on paper, man. Go, if you haven't studied Dan Kennedy, study Dan Kennedy. Like, part of the magic is when you do the work. When it all comes out, it's all printed up, pretty digital. Oh, look at this, pretty. When you see someone doing the work, there's some mystery behind it. Man, he's doing the work right here in front of us. Like, watch him go. And Dan Kennedy teaches that. And one of the things that when we went to Dan Kennedy's house, as the foregoing expert on everything, marketing and building a business, Dan Kennedy's like, we're in his basement, right? We paid $35,000 to be there. So we already paid him a lot of money. By the way, amateurs get paid at the end of the transaction. Professionals get paid up front. Dan Kennedy taught me that, and I never did like it because we always get paid at the end of the transaction in real estate, right? But Dan got his 35 grand. In fact, he got 17,000 of it before we even got on a call with him. So like he's a professional at getting the money up front. And so like Dan's like, but part of his mystery is he's always got the right move and the right answers. He makes people millions and millions of dollars. He's grumpy. He's got a persona. Dan leaves the room. He's like, hang on a second. Leaves, he gets up and he goes in there. You can hear him rustling shit around. He's in this other room, digging through shit, making a bunch of noise. He comes back and he's like, this right here, and like the whole mystery of it is like, what is he doing in there? What room is that? What's in that room in there? Like he's digging through shit. Comes in here and gives us this one thing. He's like, that's what you need to be doing. And I'm like, we're like, dang, man, Dan Kennedy like is the man, like, but that whole mystery of doing, like, oh, I got you ain't never seen this before. And, rustling around another, I think he was just banging shit together. He knew what he was going to tell us before he even got there. But that's, that's why, doing some of this. And we have a printout that has all the market data and I would fill it out as we go. They're just sitting there watching. And there's, nobody else did this, right? Everybody else is, brought digital presentations. They're all, this and the other, getting down and dirty, doing it right in front of them. I think there's more value in it. And I watch how people engage with it. But again, it's like very specific. I didn't piss them off and not include their price. Like all of that was doing it thousands of times, right? That was the beauty of you can get your 10,000 hours in, and this is it's really hard to train an agent on listings to be masterful at this because you don't get enough reps. You don't go on enough. I was going on 4 to 5 a day. So I could take something and try it and it didn't work and then be like, scrap that, try this. Okay, try it. So I got to iterate faster on what worked and what didn't and see in real time in a day's time what works and what doesn't. And I did that for so many years that I got to a place where, okay, don't ever leave this out. Don't ever leave that out. You just get to a place where you've mastered it. And that was it. That one thing was probably, it was the difference between me getting, houses because a bunch of houses didn't sell. I mean, a bunch of my listings didn't sell. That was a part of, it wasn't 100% of the houses you take as a listing you could assume were going to sell. It was about 50% in the marketplace and maybe 70% if I was lucky. And, I might be able to get that to 75%. But, when they didn't sell, it wasn't because they couldn't. It was because it was either they weren't motivated enough or I didn't get it priced right. Like that's bottom line.
Dude, I want to wrap up here, dude, with something you just said. And it may have resonated with some people, but others may have gone over their heads. And it's important. You mentioned 10,000 hours and you didn't, I know what you're talking about. And there's some people on here that know what you're talking about. But when we talk about getting your 10,000 hours in, I want you to unpack that for a second.
Yeah, man.
Before you do that, how many hours, and this is just an estimate. I have an idea for mine. But when we were out, dude, I was going on 2 to 3 a day. You're going on 5 a day when we were in it and hustling, right? How many hours do you think went into, including anything that your assistant would do? Like how many hours, including the pre-work for a listing appointment, the first conversation, all the way to the end of that presentation with the seller, whether you got it or not? I'm talking just that many hours. Would you say maybe 3-4 hours per?
Man, I whittled it down quite a bit. I mean, I got to a place where, I would spend an hour at the property, including taking the listing. Sometimes that would go a little over because I talk a lot. But I had basically I had I had a 90 minutes and a 30-minute buffer in between appointments, starting at like 12 to 4, 6 or something like that. It was 4. And then sometimes I would accept a later one. Eventually I quit doing the later appointments, but they weren't full every day, but they were full most days. But
so you got 90 minutes on the appointment, but including your prep.
I got a lot of that. I got all the paperwork everything that was the prep work got done. I did about 30 minutes worth of prep work probably on every deal. And then I got to a certain point where I knew what it was worth without even looking. And I felt like I needed less prep, but yeah, a lot of that, the document that I had was I could log on the computer and I could do that work right there. So instead of me doing it ahead of time, I would do it there because I was doing it there was better anyways. Plus I was busy. You run back in the office, grab a file, you're out. I haven't read the seller counseling interview. I know nothing about these people. And I'm trying to read that before I walk up to the door to have enough information to build rapport. Like that's, I got to a place where I was spending less of that time, but I would say it's probably 30 minutes ahead, probably an hour and a half on the high side. So 2 hours probably for me, but two hours probably in total. And how many listings that I didn't get? If you took how many listings I took that sold, that didn't sell, and that I didn't get, holy I don't even. There's got to be 7,000. I don't know. I mean, it's I sold all those, 5,000 homes. So like, how many did I not get? How many didn't sell? Like, I don't know, 10,000 maybe. I don't know. It's a lot.
Well, I wanted you to explain the 10,000 hours because that's kind of where I was going with this. But like, we're talking about it could take you 2 or 3 years to truly become and get your 10,000 hours in. That was the math I was trying to do on it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like, think about it. The reason that we got good, yes, we had some pretty good coaches that coached us and taught us, but where the rubber really met the road, at least for me, was getting those 10,000 hours in, meaning going on all these appointments, not getting a lot of them either. We're competitive. We didn't get them all. No. But like, you have to understand that if you're going on listing appointments today and you're going on enough of them, look, I love running into agents being like, I've gotten every listing I've went on.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, guess what? You ain't going on more than maybe one a quarter. That don't count. Okay?
Yeah. Well, people think this. We ran into this all the time in coaching. Is if you've been in the business a while, your biggest problem isn't winning the listing. You'll tell, and a lot of people listening will be saying, "Yeah, I mean, I win every listing. I don't know what they're talking about." Yeah, that's because they're all referrals. Somebody already said you're great before you got there. It's not a stranger. When you spend money in marketing, and then you're there in competing against the number one agent in your marketplace. Then tell me you get 100%. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different animal. And you a lot of times are competing against people that cut a commission. You got to learn all the things that people, how they win, and you got to learn how to compete against it. And so, you can't just start spending money in marketing and think you're going to go out there and win every listing. You're not. And if you haven't, what I always look back on, I know you did it. I did it. We went after FSBOs. We went after expires. You learn the skill of how to win a listing on free business that doesn't cost you anything. And then those skills start to get developed. And then when you're spending money in marketing, you have the ability to win in that scenario. You can be a great agent. Don't get me wrong. If you're really good with people, you can be a great agent and do a lot of business and get a lot of referrals. But until you go meet with strangers that don't want to hire you and or that aren't convinced that they should hire you or listen to you, where no one has said you're the person they should choose that they trust ahead of time, you ain't ready to compete. You've been practicing with it's like Billy Madison. You've been playing dodgeball with kindergartners. Like that's a different game. When you start playing with people your size. So I mean I think that's. Yeah, but that 10,000 hours, I mean, you can get, and we learned this in training. We had, when we started the brokerage 8 or 9 years ago, whatever it was, I did daily meetings with Chris, and Chris will go out on the appointments, and then, we trained him like a Navy SEAL. Then he had to go out and we had to see, man, did he follow the mission? And when he would come back and we would talk, Chris would fall victim for this a lot early on. They loved him because he's real likable and he's a good salesperson. Just really good, good to get easy. I mean, he's going to get in there and win the listing a lot of times just because people like him. And that's what usually does happen if you're good at this business. But he would give him price. And I was like, you ain't never hearing from him again. He's like, oh man, dang it. I didn't mean, like he thought he would get, because it's not like he knew the process forwards and backwards. He wouldn't even know where he got off the process. And I would have to coach him on what happened next. Okay. You gave him price. Like, he's like, oh man, I was like, you walked out the house, you gave him price that you ain't never going to see him again. dang, man. Like, but that's what would happen is you until you've been trained on a process and you go back to, all right, did I follow that process? I would say after about 25 appointments for him, 25 to 30, he got really, really good. Not 10,000 hours good, but really, really good. And at about 10 or 15 of those reps, he got, and again, this is that whole book, the first 20 hours, right? You can become good at something in 20 hours. You can learn how to play a guitar. You can learn, you could be good at something if you put 20 hours work into it. And so he became good, and then he became really good, but 10,000 hours is different. You've seen every scenario and every possible way you could lose, and you've experienced those in real time, and you can count how many times you messed up that every time if I don't build rapport, I lost.
Yeah.
I got outfriended again. You can't skip that step, man. It has to be in there. Like all of those things. But yeah, man, that's it makes it hard to it makes it hard to become a dominant listing agent. You got to do the work, man. You got to get more face-to-face at-bats. You got to be following the process, not winging it. And then you can go, you'll feel unstoppable. But I think you got to at least get 15 or 20 reps following a proven process before you're.
I think you have to get 15 to 20 a month.
Yeah.
For like 3 years. When you talk about 10,000 hours, Jay, you're talking about 10,000, not hours. Like, I'm starting here. It's July 1st. And I'm going to go to the next July, not that many hours. We're talking about hours in the business, actually doing the work in front of a seller, the prep work before it, those hours.
Yep.
When those start to compound, look, man, you want an easy way. You want to become an expert? Go on 10 listing appointments a week for 4 years. Yep. Okay. Just forget about the result. Just go on 10 listing appointments a week for 4 straight years. You're going to be so good you can do it in your sleep.
Yep.
I mean,
I haven't even gone through this process, not even for teaching it. And I mean, teaching it maybe 5 years, gone on a listing, not since 2011, 2010. Yeah, you could literally blindfold me. I could walk in and do that presentation I could do it blindfolded for the rest of my life. There's no way I'll ever not know what I'm supposed to do. And that's a gift. It's a gift, right? It's a skill set now. And so, if I had to go do it, I could go do it.
Dude, you know what the magic bean is in there though? It's the reps, but here's where I noticed the difference, dude. It was like, you remember the first listing appointment you ever went on? Like when you were so green, you were greener than green.
Oh yeah.
And I was so nervous, right?
Yeah.
So now think about that mindset. Now think about fast forward to where we're at now. And for agents listening to this and you want to get to that latter spot, like confidence, when that's the magic bean I'm talking about. When you have that confidence, oh my God, your whole aura shifts. The seller will feel that confidence, not cocky, not arrogance. I'm talking confidence. Like,
what you're talking about.
There's this energy that shifts, Jay, and it's like, hey, I don't need you. You need me. And obviously you're portraying this in a very, very respectful, but also very persuasive way. And understanding, like, I'm the professional. You need me, and I'm here to help you. When you're able to convey
it has to be engineered. I'll tell you what I think it is in the beginning. Enthusiasm. If you're just enthusiastic, good market or bad, and you're just enthusiastic, people would list. I call it because I did autopsies on everyone. I don't know why I did. I mean, I guess it's just who I am. Like, I want to know. I won. Why'd you fucking hire me? I lost. Why'd you not hire me? Like, I wanted to know. And I remember one of the first times, it was the first time I ever beat Pam Marion, #1 agent, top 10 in the world for Remax. Fucking never could beat her. She always outsold me. And the first time I got a listing that she didn't, and I called them and asked them, and they're like, man, we just felt like you were more positive and more enthusiastic about the home. And I was like, wow, okay. Well, I'd never heard that before. And so I was just happy to be on an appointment in MacArthur Park East. Like, that was a big listing for me. Okay. And so, right. But then it was enthusiasm, but then it does become your confidence and knowing what you're doing. And it's establishing when you actually know what you're doing, you know, the reason you lack the confidence is because you don't really know what you're doing. And until you become a student of the market and a student of the data and know what you're talking about. And there's times where, man, I got cocky with this one house in Bly's Point and I listed it at 1099. I'll never forget this. Probably should have been 1029. And I was like, man, I think your house is going to sell for this. Like, and she got an offer. I told her not to take it. The house never fucking sold. And it was my fault. Yeah. And I was like, damn, man, I was wrong. You know, I was wrong. And it cost me not just the commission. I mean, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. And that was that stung that I should have been harder on her and said, man, you know, your first offer is always your best. You're probably not going to get another one better. You probably need to take this at 104. And she didn't. And then she never sold. And, you know, she blamed me, obviously, and it was my fault. But, you know, that's because I told her, don't take this. We'll sell it. We'll sell it. And we didn't. But, you know, but you go through, you know, some of that is experiences that you have. But the other is like when you really know the market, and I was getting cocky. I got past confidence to cocky and thought I knew what I was doing, and I was wrong. And the lot was smaller. It was just an oddball kind of deal, but it was enough that it caused that house not to sell, in my opinion. But good. Yeah. So, you know, you gotta do the, you know, I knew the market. Like that's what I didn't know a lot, but I knew how many homes were on the market. I knew how many would sell. I knew how many wouldn't sell. I looked at pending ratios. I knew if the market was going up or down. And that gave, and I had to be able to construe my knowledge of the market was critical to them getting their goal. And they had to see that I knew what I was talking about. So they would listen to what I tell them to do, because most sellers are going to be hopeful and try to hope for whatever, you know, that, you know, and there's always some dumb agent coming in there right behind you or right ahead of you that's going to tell them what they want to hear and not what they need to hear. Yeah. And I lost more listings to people that I never should have lost to out of hope, you know, not really anchoring, man, I should listen to this guy hard enough. Like, and so, yeah, dude, that's it. It's doable, but you know, it's like, dude, we'll end with this one. So my dad teed this up, right? So like, I'm exhausted, dude. These kids are wearing us out. But, you know, the lake is smooth in the morning, okay? Yeah. And so, you know, that's when we would all go wakeboard. And so there's this wakeboard cove, and Dad's like, we're going in the morning. We're going to teach Riggs how to wakeboard. And I'm like, oh, shit, Riggs, you know, man, he's going to hate this process. I already know it. And so we get out there, you know, the driver sucks, the board sucks, this sucks, everything sucks. And I said, and I tell him this all the time. You can't say it enough to kids, I don't think. But it's like, listen, man. Everything you fucking ever do in your life is going to suck at first. You're going to suck at it, and that's just going to be the way it is. It don't ever start off being good. So just know once you get up, you're going to love it. And so you got to embrace the suck. And you know, going through that, and the time you just want to be like, forget this, man. I don't need it. I don't even want to do it. You don't even know what joy's on the other side of it yet, but you're ready to quit, you know? Yeah. And so you got to talk them through it, you know, and it's like, dude, just embrace this stuff, dude. This is the process. Everything in your life, bro. You couldn't even walk. You crawled everywhere. You ain't crawling around today. You learned how to walk. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know, it sucked, I'm sure, as when you was trying to wobble your little ass around and you couldn't stand on 2 feet, but eventually you learned how to walk. And now you ain't crawling around everywhere because you said this fucking walking sucks and I don't want to learn how to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like that, but yeah. I have to remind Riggs of this all the time. I'm like, whatever you're doing at first, you're going to suck. And you're going to have to go embrace it. Give it a hug, man. The struggle is the way. And you know, that's part of, you know, you got to get enough reps, get through the struggle. You're going to lose, you know, and you're going to hate it. But when you get good, man, you're like, man, now I'm actually helping people. I know what I'm doing. I know I can do this. I know you should listen to me. And you got to get to that place. But it is through reps. It's through reps and you gaining that confidence through the reps.
So did he get up?
He did not. So
he did not.
We put him on a knee board, and he, you know, I think we gave up on it. Actually, to be fair, and so actually, that's not true. Actually, what happened was Carson. We gave him a break. Carson went. Carson couldn't get up. Now they're all talking shit to me and saying, "You can't do it. You can't do it. Y'all, you're telling." I said, "Watch your old man get out here, and I'm gonna show y'all's ass." So I got out there, got up on the first time. wakeboarding, you got it's a weird kind of twisting of the hips you got to do to get up, and it's not snowboarding and all that. And, by the way, Riggs hated snowboarding. I chased him down the mountain, cussing the whole time, And then then he learned how to do it, and he leaves me on there. I had to walk down the mountain. This was in Tahoe, and he learned how to do it. And he's like, "Man, this is the best ever. We got to do snowboarding every year." I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's not what you were saying about 45 minutes ago." You know, but it was the same thing. So Riggs took a break. Carson couldn't get up. I showed up, showed him how to do it. That's it. And then they shut up. Then Riggs, it was time for breakfast. We were meeting for breakfast because it was Thursday and I had to do the call. So we were on limited time. And we put him on a knee board and he was like, "I don't want to do it." And I watched him. He was like, he's at the edge of the boat and we were trying to tell him how to pull himself up and put the straps on. He's like, "I don't even know if I want to." And he started to turn around and I just threw him in the water. I said, "Just do it. Just try. It's way easier than wakeboarding. Just do it." So he goes out there, gets up. He's having a great time spinning around. It's a lot easier on a kneeboarder. So he's having fun or whatever. He's like, "Oh, I really like kneeboarding." I said, "You'd like wakeboarding too." I said, "You just got to get you some more reps." So he didn't that day, but so he's still got some work to do on the wakeboarding. But yeah, you just got to embrace the suck, man. Like,
yeah. Well, I don't care if it's wakeboarding, snowboarding, golfing, tennis, pickleball, or real estate. You can't be an expert without actually doing the reps and being an expert. So get out there and get the reps, everybody. Appreciate you being with us today. Jay, thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Have a great week, everybody. Welcome back.
Right.
Let's kill it.